Welcome back to Two Vintage Sports Guys. I am your host, Joe Randacci. Welcome back, and I'm welcoming back my partner in this endeavor, Mr. Paul Gallagher. Give us an intro, Paul.
Hey, Joe. Paul here, live from what is going to be in a minute thunder and lightning and rain in Atlanta. And that's a great segue for you to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So we sit Oklahoma Thunder versus San Antonio Spurs, and Mr. Wemby tied at 1-1 going back to San Antonio. So what was your thought? Well, first, San Antonio taking game one in double overtime, and it's sitting at 1-1. And if Oklahoma had somehow gone back to San Antonio down 0-2, would the series already be over? Thoughts on all that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I watched both. Wemby hitting a 28-foot from, it was almost near half court 3-point shot, sent me out of my chair in game one. We did not watch a lot of last night's game because we were watching the Canadians and gleeful at that game. But Oklahoma, I just found a way to bet in the state of Georgia, which is illegal, but I found an app to bet. And so I just placed a few bets last night, first time in a long time, because it's probably not a good financial move for me to be doing this. And I just bet on Oklahoma to win in San Antonio. I think they're just a better team. I think SGA is going to go off tonight and establish himself as the premier guy in the NBA that he is. Great for them to get a win on the road, but I do think it comes back down to earth in Oklahoma, probably in 6. I think they'll win the next game in San Antonio and then go from there. So,
first of all, he shot that 28 three-pointer like it was the halftime buzzer was just about to go.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like who stops 28 feet from it in the final minute of the game to do that?
And absolutely nails it. It was great. That was amazing. So crowd in Oklahoma, it was great. Everything was good. I think they were shocked. I'm not buying into, too much rest for anybody starting in a game one. I think San Antonio won, but last night or not last night, the Knicks played last night, but the last game, Oklahoma did get back to their brand of basketball and start winning. So I think it's a matter of time before they win that series.
Well, is it me or do I watch Wemby 7'4", 235? My problem watching him run around on that court at 22 years old, getting smacked left and right, is a racehorse about to break that leg and be shot. He is not going to last.
Well, that's what they say about all the big men like that. And there's been a history from Sean Bradley all the way through that the big men can't last. I don't know if we're supposed to be that tall, but he has put on weight. He has gotten thicker. He'll continue to do so. But yeah, he does get beat up pretty bad. It's not as bad as in the Eastern when you're playing Detroit and New York and the other thugs, but he does get a little bit hammered. So he's got to last.
San Antonio's 1.5 point spread tonight, so they're favored at home. If the Thunder go down 2-1 tonight, does that make Game 4 a must? Can they go down 3-1?
No, I think Oklahoma can run off 3 wins if they for some reason lose on the road and San Antonio wins at home, which could happen, right? You're supposed to win at home. But Oklahoma's that good where they could win the next 3 and come back from whatever deficit. I think that Oklahoma, everybody thought this was going to be a 7-game series when they lost the first one. I still think it's a 6-game series. I think Oklahoma wins. I think they win tonight, establish themselves, and say, "Hey, we're not messing around. We're not going to give San Antonio a chance to win here. We're going to stomp and go on a roll." And I think SGA, one of the bets that I made was he gets 35 points or more. So I took Oklahoma. I took SGA. I'm about to take the Phillies to beat the Guardians. I might become a degenerate by the end of this episode.
You're already a degenerate. You just mean
Thank you.
sports wise.
Thank
But
you.
so, it's been 2 years and 33 games since the Oklahoma Thunder have been underdogs in the playoffs. Tonight is their first game. So how's that for epic respect for Wemby and the Spurs?
Yeah, and they're at home, right? Yeah, so I think that's a big deal being at home in game one. I thought Cleveland would get some respect, but they're done. Knicks in four. In fact, that's another bet that I made yesterday. Was I just went out on a limb and I picked the Knicks to win it all just because of the odds. I can win a lot of money if they do it. I don't believe in it, but put down $5 to win 40.
So
See
here's the only
what
way I would
happens.
say the Knicks have a chance of winning it all. They sweep Cleveland, which is not hard to do at this point, and San Antonio and OKC go seven, beat the
Yeah,
crap out of each other.
right.
Knicks get a little rest, and if
Yep.
they can get anything out of then like the first game, that they could have a chance. But that's a long way off. But there's no
It's a
way.
long way off. I think the Knicks exactly that is the recipe to do it along with the 3-pointers, and they just launch, game one against the Thunder, start launching 3-pointers, and they could win it that way. It would be a horrible way to end the season. I wouldn't want it, but
I,
I'd make
I, I,
$40.
I just don't see it happening because this Knicks team right now is not the Knicks team that's been playing all year. Everything has gone right. They've played just about lights out perfect basketball since they've been down. They were down 2-1 to the Hawks in that first round. So you're going to
Yeah, but
put these Knicks up against either OKC and Wemby with those defensive teams. They're not going to shoot that way.
but I think that's what sports is a series of streaks. And I think if you're on a hot streak, you could be at the craps table, you could be at the poker, blackjack table, wherever you are, or on the basketball court, uh, and get on a streak and ride it out. That's what baseball certainly is. It's a game of streaks and everything. So they're in the Knicks are doing well. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They could ride this streak out and take it into the next one, and God forbid win the series.
I mean, again, used to be a huge Knicks fan, could care less now, but I just don't. I think each series is its own. I mean, Atlanta, Knicks was supposed to crush them. Your 76ers, we've already had this conversation. That should have been the Celtics if what's his name was playing game seven. So Philly, your 76ers were not winning that series. So now Cleveland, I thought would put more into this, and they still might. Let's not forget they went home versus Detroit down 2-0 and won
Yeah,
both games at home
yeah,
and
true.
won it in seven, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen here. I think they get one of these two down 3-1. Knicks go home and finish it, and that'll be that, right? But all right, we
Let's get
good
on to
there?
the better sport. Let's go to the
Let's get
better
on to the
sport.
better sport. All right, so Canadian curling. That's what we're going to discuss now.
Yeah. Now we're gonna discuss the ability to play as physical a game as basketball, but on a quarter-inch blade on ice while traveling at 30 miles an hour. Hockey.
All right. Which one are we going
Canadians
to
came
argue and
out.
disagree about first? The Knights
We're
Avalanche or
no, we're gonna disagree about the Canadians because you like so many others are gonna say, well, it's all because of rest and they rested too long and they were they started off slow. Listen, the the conversation needs to be skill versus system. And yes, the Canes are very skilled. They are fast. They are driven by, I think, the best coach in hockey in Brindamore. Wonderful team, tons of talent. But damn, the Canadians are fast and skilled, and the way they move the puck and pass the puck. They got five, plus an empty netter. They got a bunch of goals because they're skilled and because they could do it and because they just passed it more efficiently, not because the Canes had a few more days off. So whether or not they can win the whole series, I don't know. But in fact, I'd put the mortgage on the Hurricanes winning game two at home. I don't think they lose two in a row. I think they're that well coached. But then they go back to Montreal, anything can happen. So thrilled for the young folk in Montreal that are got a well deserved win.
All
So
right. So
very good for them.
you don't think, despite the fact that the Hurricanes somehow came out and scored in the first 33 seconds, the fact that Cole Caulfield responded at a minute,
Yep.
3 minutes later, they put another one in. 3 minutes later, they put another one in. 3 minutes later, they put another one in, and it's 4 goals to 1 by the end of the first. And then I think Carolina settled in. They didn't give up any goals in the second. And by 7 minutes into the third, I think down 2 goals, they just kind of upped it and just didn't work. But
Yeah, I go
I
on the
can't.
opposite side of that completely. I look at the positives of what Montreal did, how fast they were, they moved the puck, and yes, they were down 1-0 on the road in an exciting stadium with the crowd going, and they silenced them, and then they put their foot to the pedal and they executed. And I just think it's a very skilled team that responded well that you have to respect. And you can't put it all on what Carolina didn't do. Instead, glass half full, you put it on what Montreal did do, which is executed, pass effectively, fast as hell, and they went out and got it. And they got a great goaltending performance as well. So that
I
that
think you're
that
totally
didn't hurt.
wrong. Totally wrong.
That's
Totally
fine.
wrong. Totally
That's fine.
wrong.
If and
Carolina.
just remember that the next time I say you're wrong and you wind up hanging up and stopping this little experimental podcast in the middle because we all
Hang
know that
up, then
nobody's
call you
allowed to
back
tell
just to
you
hang up
you're
on you
wrong.
again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, you never
Call
can
you
say
back
to
and hang
Joe
up
he's
on you
wrong.
again. So Carolina swept the first round, swept the second round.
Yeah.
Too long rested, weren't
No.
ready. I will give you this. The
No.
Canadians are young, they are fast, and they came and won 2 Game 7s on the road in the first and second series, right? But they played 14 games versus the 8 uh, Carolina played. And Carolina is just, they were just waiting and just waited too long. Now, if you win this, I'm not going to take anything away from the Canadians. They'll have earned it, but they're going to have to go out and earn it because Carolina, this is not, Montreal went from nowhere to here from last year to this year. Carolina has been a disappointment the last 3 years in the playoffs, but this is an experienced veteran team.
Yeah.
They are not
Listen.
just going to fold.
Yeah, I listen to my son more than anybody else in hockey, and he sat there and schooled me last night. He says Carolina's an extremely talented team, and they have Rod Brindamore screaming at them all the time to play harder and better. I think Carolina does win the series, but I think it's going to go 6 or 7 games,
Oh,
and we're
well, that's
excited.
no fun. I think it's going to go 6-2. I'd rather argue with you and disagree.
Well, I mean, it doesn't take away the fact that you were wrong on everything that you said because you
Take
were, but
Montreal so I could beat you.
I will.
Carolina's going to win
I
this.
may. I may. Game three is going to be the deciding one. Actually, when they get back to Montreal, game two, no way that Carolina loses at home, two in a row. Not going to happen.
Let's say they
Um,
do. Then what?
whoa. Well, then the Canadians win in six.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you don't think down two that
down
Carolina comes back and
two,
win this.
Carolina doesn't come back, but it's not going to happen. They're going to win at home.
All right.
So
Well, let's talk about the Western Conference Finals with the Colorado Avalanche hosting Vegas at home. Okay, I'm going to go on a rant about Vegas
oh,
before this.
go
So
ahead.
I never, this is the grass is always greener. Forever and a day when hockey scored wins and losses by just wins and losses before the overtime led to the shootout, which led to an overtime loss point. I was happy when all that happened instead of you just won or lost. Okay. Now I'm starting to think these overtime losses and points adding up are just not doing right by some teams anymore. What's my point with that?
I get it.
Vegas won the Pacific Division with 39 wins, right? The Ducks came in third with 43 wins because Vegas had 17 overtime losses points, won the division with 95 points versus Edmonton with 93 and Anaheim with 92. Is there a better way to do this
Hmm.
than losing and still somehow winning that division?
Yeah, I've read about that argument all year, especially at the end of the season with, what would Vegas be like if they played in the East, and a lot of the stats that you just rattled
Yeah, I'm
off
not
make a
even
lot of
talking about that.
sense.
Let's not
Well,
talk
I mean, it
points. Let's
is. It's
talk how they got
indicative.
those points.
Well, it's indicative of, and then you get to the playoffs. Are you who you portrayed yourself to be to get there, which is a playoff quality solid team? Maybe not. I mean, Vegas, weird team, right? Who fires their coach 2 weeks before the end of the season?
The Islanders
Yeah, you didn't make it. Yeah, it's true. Um,
and somebody
yeah,
else. Who
again,
was the
weird
other
team.
team?
You proved my point. Tortorella then gets the helm. I don't know. You don't allow Cassidy to interview for the Edmonton job, which no other team. So that owner is probably a prick. Um, they're an odd team, which is now, I think, getting the crowd turning against them. Colorado. The only reason this could be a series is because Cale McCarr's out again. He's out tonight. Um, so you're facing a Colorado team that isn't firing on all cylinders, that should be dancing their way to the Stanley Cup Finals and win it. So with McCarr out, it does make a difference. Now that said, Mitch Marner is unbelievable. Watching him, I'm rooting for him. He's doing well. I won't even touch the goaltender with a 10-foot pole. I'm not even going there. We're not talking about him. Um, it's it's an interesting series because, to your point, are they a high quality caliber playoff team after only winning 39 games?
Well,
Not
and
sure.
here's what I'll say opposite to everything I just said. They're here in the Western Conference Finals.
There you go.
So, they did earn to this point. Now, they may not have earned their seeding to get here, to my point about 17 overtime lost points. Um, I still don't know what a better and I'm always the person that hates people who doesn't like something, but they don't give a better answer to the thing they don't like.
No, it's
I don't have a
no,
better
it's an
answer right now.
observation that is very. I'll give you points for the observation. It's a good one. They won 39 games. Are they at the same level as Colorado? That's what it comes down to. And again, it's a game of streaks. So we'll see where they are. They have a star in Mitch Marner. They have a couple other key components. Colorado's unbelievable. Now they're without McCarr. So
So,
that's what really tipped the scales back to closer to even, is not having him.
so Colorado in 6.
Yeah, I think so. I think Colorado, and you can say 6, I'll say 7. We'll give them a shot.
All right. So then let's finish it on this. We got the Avalanche versus the Canes. What are
And the
we seeing?
Canes win. The Canes then win.
Ooh,
I'll root for Rod Brindamore because he's awesome. Like the guy.
wow. Okay.
I, and you know why I
Colorado in
like him.
6 versus the Canes too. But
Like,
you and I will sit here and we'll stew as we watch the Golden Knights versus the Canadians in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, when you transcribe this over to the stick figures, why don't you put a big Donald Trump wrong meme right in the middle of that, and that would be apropos. Wrong. We'll call
Well,
you.
being that I only stick figure the first 10 minutes and we're at the end of it, it's just going to be a banner that right above our words right now say, keep listening. 20 minutes left.
Well, what else? We got hockey. We got some baseball happening, but You know,
Yeah,
we're in, as I told my Atlanta Braves friend last night, who keeps going on and on and on about how great they are. It's a long season, and so yes, we're a third of the way through. We still got 2/3 of the way to go. So everybody's still in it. Everybody's still going. I might put $5 on the Phillies. Um, in fact, that's how I'll end our show, Joe. I'll end it with a bet. Let's go to this this unnamed app. Let's put a prediction in there. Let's put $5 on the hometown Phillies. There we go. Ooh, they're heavily favored. I don't like betting when they're heavily favored, but let's do it. $5 will win me 8. Buy
wow.
now.
That might get
That's
you a
big
whole big pack.
dollars. It's heavy. That's we're
The
not
happy meal
retiring
right there.
anytime soon. But you have fun. It's more about the fun. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it just to feel better about my own capabilities of calling it. I was very good last night. I won on the A's. I won on the Blue Jays. I won on the Canadians. I picked Cleveland to show up, and they did not. So I'll
you're a
never bet.
competent degenerate gambler. All right, great. That's good. Thanks for sharing. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode with Paul needing what's it called? Gamblers Anonymous, right? So it's GA. So
It's degenerate. I've been called degenerates. I've been called a lot worse. Maybe write in and Chris Gilbert can fill in for me. If you want to listen to Chris and not the degenerate, feel free.
A few more of his cards we'll look at. All right. Say goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.